The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss why our tomatoes were no good and many of yours is in the same condition, as well as fall property prep, and our guest is author Kim Romans. And your garden questions will get tackled. The hour is full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. I am your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. There's a number of ways in which you can communicate with us if you'd like to be part of the program, and we encourage participation. You can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to talk to us, you can certainly give us a call on the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods. That number is 1-800-927-SHOW. 1-800-927-7469.
Proclamation Goods creates cookware for the eco-conscious home chef. Their pans are non-toxic, have a lifetime warranty, and are made in Wisconsin. Their award-winning stainless steel Proclamation Duo cookware set is a 12-inch skillet that double and stock pot that doubles as a wok. Best of all, the skillet and stock pot hinge together to form a Dutch oven. It's two pans with the versatility of 10, empowering you to cook more with less. If you care about your health and strive for a more sustainable lifestyle, then Proclamation Goods is for you. Supplies limited, so order yours now at proclamationgoods.com.
At proclamationgoods.com. And if you want to save a little money, I've got a coupon code for you for Proclamation. Through September 5th, you can get $50 off your purchase by using the code 50 at checkout. 5-1, the 5 FIFTY 50 at checkout to get $50 off your purchase to upgrade your cookware to the best there is. Proclamationgoods.com. Well, Holly, we had trash tomatoes, and we still have trash tomatoes. We don't even have tomatoes. They're just horrible. So we're going to go and discuss, and many of you, we've voiced our thoughts on this, and many of you have had the same or having some of the same issues that we are. And some of you are having fantastic tomatoes and you have bountiful harvest. Well, that's good. For the rest of us, our tomatoes weren't any good, and we're going to go over the reasons why. There is evidence and purpose to the reason why the tomatoes were and are, in some areas of the country, no good whatsoever.
Right. So it's not just us. And then there's been reportedly some people are having bumper crops of their tomatoes this year, and some people are having a really bad season. And it seems like it's either one or the other. There's not much in between. So one of the reasons, and I just wanted to touch base on this because I do have an ecology degree, environmental science degree, and it's something that I did a lot of research on when I was getting my degree. One of the reasons they're finding is because of climate change. Now, a lot of people feel that climate change is a hoax, or they think of it as quote-unquote global warming, which is an old, out-of-date term for it. But there is a lot of scientific proof and evidence that shows that climate change is real.
But we also have seen, if we look over data over hundreds of years, the fluctuation of cold and warm and cold and warm.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is that for people who may not think climate change is a thing, you're saying that it may be a thing, but man may have helped slightly, but the historical ups and downs of climate warming and cooling is a normal thing.
It can, yes, it is. But however,
yes,
many climate scientists all agree that we are in a climate crisis. You can do your own research on that. You can believe whatever you want. But climate change, no matter what, whether you believe it's real or not, it is real.
Man-made or natural, or nature done by itself. Yeah.
We have climate patterns and changes.
Yes, patterns.
Etc. And just like a lot of people are predicting, we're going to have a very snowy winter and cold winter here in the Midwest, and I think other portions of the United States, that will mimic how it was probably about 20 years ago. So who knows? Maybe we're going into a different climate pattern. But I digress that tomatoes are a victim of the climate change, unfortunately. Whether you think it's real or not, who made climate change happen, if it's just how the earth works or if it's us. But because of that, as a result, a lot of the areas that were ideal for growing tomatoes climate-wise, like the Mediterranean, parts of California, parts of Canada, even parts of China, they had an increase in temperature, which slowed down a lot of their growth. And then there's other parts of the United States itself, like the Pacific Northwest, when they had that hot summer last year. Now they're having a cooler summer, and this changed their tomato growth as well. In the Midwest, it sounds like it's kind of hit or miss from the people we talk
Right.
to. Yeah.
And I've seen everything, even down in Texas. Follow some groups there on the social media platforms, and it's kind of patchy here and there due to, and we thought it was ours for just a couple of weeks, that our plants were stringy and not very bushy at the big garden, and then we thought, well, we did bring compost in. We have planted them in the same spot a couple of years, probably more than what we should have, but we did add the same plants that we started indoors in the front yard here at the studio, and they are still short, stocky, not doing very well at all. So it had, and then we talked to we talked at the Wisconsin State Fair a couple of weeks ago, and an individual came up to me and said that they just picked their first 3 early girl tomatoes about 4 weeks past when they should have. And he was informing me that he talked to one of the big name gardeners, and they indicated that most of, or a lot of, the tomatoes in the Wisconsin area, Midwest area, are trash because of the nighttime temperatures being too warm in order for the fruit to properly develop. So that also with watering issues, if you don't have an irrigation system, and we have an irrigation system, it didn't help one way or the other. Plants are still stringy. We have some fruit development, and other individuals who we have reached out to online, some of you have commented, a lot of green tomatoes, very few ripe red tomatoes or ripening tomatoes in that. So then, if you are able to do more of a controlled climate, growing indoors, growing in a greenhouse, something in which you can variate the nighttime temperatures versus daytime temperature, that should work very well.
Now, this didn't just affect the backyard gardener.
Right.
This also affected the tomato producing growers.
Manufacturers.
Yeah, the people that
Corporate.
grow the tomatoes for things like ketchup and pasta sauce and canned tomatoes and all that good stuff, salsa, whatever. And this did affect them as well, and it will continue to affect them in economics. I can't say that
Economists?
word. Economists are predicting that there could be a 6% increase in tomato product prices, and it could continue through 2050.
Well, we're only in 2022 now.
Now, I think economists, how do you say that?
Economists
maybe projecting that a little bit far out, I think.
Well,
but who knows? They know the trends and they know how things go, and we are, in a financial recession, or we are. I don't know.
Things aren't good.
Things aren't good.
And with that,
in the monies
right,
department,
and we've seen this, and I don't have proof because I don't have any independent study, but we've seen that certain people project certain things based on the political affiliation that they want to make look good or look bad. That is just a common thing. Oh, things are going to do good because this particular party is in charge versus a different party.
Well, if you're...
that's not made up. That's a very real thing.
If your jar of salsa went up by 6%, then
join the club.
Then join the club. I don't... I mean, we've all seen rising prices at the grocery store. Perhaps you... No,
we've not been to a farmer's market lately, so we don't know if that's trickled down to there. I'm sure it has.
Yeah, we haven't. And actually, I was thinking about going to one this week, so we'll have to see. But yeah. So one thing that you can do again is grow your own tomatoes, and Joey had mentioned perhaps try a controlled climate.
Right.
Yeah.
But so if you have wonderful tomatoes, hey, way to go. Good job. Keep doing it. If you don't, like many of us, I don't have a good answer for you. I'm just happy that it's not something that I am personally doing, or we have some issue with soil nutrient deficiency. As
I still think that
yes.
we should move our tomatoes.
Yes.
B, and we have irrigation, but I'm still a believer in irrigation all across the board, because it does allow you to have consistent watering, and that is key. We don't have any diseased tomatoes.
No.
We just have sad tomatoes.
Yeah, they're stringy. They're very weak looking. They're supported by Florida Weave and cages. But sometimes in life, Holly, it's good to know that if a failure that's going on in your world, if everybody else is having the failure, it makes you feel just a little bit better.
I mean, it really does. It's like, I don't get
it's
this.
Not just me.
It's not just me. There's some solidarity and pure support.
Well, you know what what you listeners have done is you have supported Walton's Incorporated. Everything but the meat. So much so that they have already committed to next year to be part of season 7 of the show. And
we're really excited about that. We're glad to have them back.
For those who don't know, what is Walton's? What do they have?
Walton's has everything you need to make delicious meat products, except for the meat.
Yes.
So you can get all the equipment, seasoning, supplies to make sausage, jerky, any other meat product your way to your high standards. They have a learning website called meatgistics.com to help you make the best finished product. They have meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, spices. We got a little hamburger press deal from them.
Anything you need in the kitchen, they probably got it.
Meat thermometers, all that good stuff. And that's Walton's Everything But the Meat. You can use code GROW50 to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more and get free shipping.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for doing that. And continue to go back for more of your needs from waltonsinc.com. Grow 50 to save 10% off those orders of $50 or more. Well, be with us in just a moment. Hang out. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to prepare your property for fall and what you should be doing. You're listening to the Garden with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
It's time to get excited for our fall season. Tree-Ripe delivers the best Oregon pears, Wisconsin Honeycrisp apples, and Florida citrus you'll ever eat, directly from the farm within days of being picked. Their pears and apples can be delivered directly to your home, and you can find their citrus at over 200 orange stops throughout the Midwest. This winter, all the event details and ordering information can be found on their website, tree-ripe.com. And an extra bonus for you listeners, get apples and pears delivered right to your house with 10% off your purchase by using coupon code HOLLY10, Holly10. The discount's only available for home delivery.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Japanese beetles show up in summer for a feeding frenzy in your garden, and they are the worst party guest. Feeding on leaves, then laying eggs in your lawn for next year. Japanese beetles can decimate your plants and trees. Protect your plants with Japanese beetle traps from Rescue. New this year, Rescue has refill lures to use the same trap again the next year. Made in the USA by the makers of the popular Rescue Fly and Yellow Jacket traps. Learn more at rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. Take the guesswork out of composting with hot bin composting. Quickly break down food scraps within 30 to 90 days. Find out more at hotbincomposting.com. Thanks for listening to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Pro Plugger, Chip Drop, Bellbuster, Johnny Appleseed, Ivy Organic, Milkweed Balm, Walton's Incorporated, Bloomin' Easy Plants, Jung Seeds. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us on another weekend. How's your weekend going? Ours, we'll let you know next week how our weekend turned out. Well, Holly, we talked about watering is a priority in all gardens, and whether you have trees, shrubs, bushes, vegetables, house plants, whatever the case is, sometimes we forget to water. And with Tree Diaper, it takes the forgetness that we have out of the equation.
Absolutely. Tree Diaper is a revolutionary watering system that slowly releases water on the base of any tree or plant as the soil dries. The Tree Diaper is filled with water from rain or when you water and slowly releases the water over 3 weeks. No overwatering, underwatering to worry about.
It works.
Yeah, with the Tree Diaper, every time it rains, the Tree Diaper recharges. No pipes, hoses, or electricity needed. You can water your plants and trees, whether they're down by the house, the road, the back 40, etc. It works under mulch, too. Whether you're a first-time gardener or advanced, Tree Diaper will improve the way you water your plants. Made in the USA, you can find all the information and sizes they have available at treediaper.com. That's treediaper.com.
Well, fall is summer. The great line from the office, Holly. Summer had to end sometime. You know, when Michael's looking at the tree in the park. So summer has to end sometime.
I mean, I'm excited. I'm like, you know, when Dwight wears the pumpkin on his head.
For you, if you've seen don't put pumpkins on your head. That is not a good thing to do.
Not especially my head.
Nobody's head. You don't put a pumpkin on anybody's head. Don't do that. It's bad.
Anyway, but Dwight can do it. So
we'll let that be for him.
Yes.
So there's a number of
people now who watch The Office that are very excited.
Yeah,
Yes.
Those are the money beats.
You want to think about your fall prep.
Right. And there's many things in which, based on how large your property is, if you got 100 acres or you got 1 acre, or you got a fifth of an acre, there's things in which you can do. The list is longer the more acreage you have, obviously. But here's some things in which you may want to think about or start looking at or preparing for on your property. One, the use of leaves. Most people who have property have a tree or trees that are going to produce a lot of free mulch for you, whether you mulch them or you use them as whole leaves in your garden or around your perennials or around your flower beds. That is free. Don't give it to the city for them to compost. Compost it yourself or just make a big pile in the corner and use that stuff. It's free. Don't give it away. I
learned today
that
so like maybe you don't want to do anything with your leaves and you just mow over them and you let them do their thing because they biodegrade in like 3 months.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
No, but I've learned that some HOAs or housing, whatever those people are called, HOAs.
Yeah, HOAs. Homeowners associations.
Yeah, some of them don't allow you to just let your leaves sit. You have to.
We don't have it. Yeah. That's a whole other show.
No, it's a whole other show. But so if you have a friend who has an HOA that can't let their leaves sit and they bag them up or whatever,
take them.
Yeah. If they're not going to use them, take them.
And here's the thing with the leaves when they fall on the ground. There's some people that may be concerned, well, if the grass was sprayed with a 2,4-D or a weed and feed or something like that, if the leaves set on the grass long enough, will it absorb that poison? And then when you put on the garden, will it disperse that poison into the garden? No, it's not going to do that. That poison is in the leaves. Nothing that I've seen shows that if the leaves set on the grass for X amount of time, it will absorb into the leaf. And so save the leaves, get the leaves from other people. Leaves are a fun activity to let the kids play with, but also your garden likes it too. There's a lot of It's living. It's a mulch. It's a free mulch. You don't have to do anything for it. Another thing you want to do is look at, if you care about your lawn, you can feed your lawn in the fall, Holly.
Yeah, so that's like a thing. I don't know a ton about lawn care, but I do know that you feed your lawn in the fall.
And you can also seed in the fall too.
You can also seed in the fall. And I had mentioned, I think last week, that my sister was
2 weeks ago when we had Steve Bender on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That my sister was seeding her grass in this one portion of her front yard, and it's been very successful. So I should remember to tell her to feed her lawn this fall. So what you're going to do is you're going to, a week after you mow the lawn for the last time for the season, or what you hope is the last time for the season, is you apply a slow release granular fertilizer. So you would go to your local garden center and say, hey, I want to feed my lawn. What's a good slow release granular fertilizer?
Well, you want to do your research because they will push whatever the brand is or the big boy brand, or you want to figure out what brand is best for your.
I mean, you should do your research, but maybe you don't have time. So
and then you get a Chapin fertilizer spreader, and away you go with feed your lawn.
It's highly recommended to use a fertilizer spreader
for proper distribution.
And it's not hard to push. If you can push a lawnmower, if you can push a shopping cart, you can push a fertilizer spreader.
Not bad at all. Now, your sister, my sister-in-law, she seeded grass in the front yard. She went with the more, I guess, economical way instead of purchasing sod and laying the sod in. That is an option. You can do that. Either way, you do need to make sure you have enough time from the time you put that in the ground for it to take off or root before the hard winter comes in your particular area. So you want to feed the lawn if you care about it. Don't if the bag says do XYZ, don't add more XYZ to it. You're going to waste material, you're going to waste money, and you're actually over-fertilizing is just as bad as under-fertilizing or not fertilizing at all.
A lot of times fertilizer works, well, most of the time, it works at the roots. So you're feeding the roots. A lot of them do have a high nitrogen component, but a lot
which is the first number on your bag.
Which is, it adds the green to the grass, etc., green to your plants. But a lot of them also have a lot of phosphorus. That's the one that does the roots, right? NPK. K is
potassium.
Yeah, phosphorus. And so what will happen is that if you overdo it, the roots will grow, but then they'll choke each other out, and then that becomes a problem in itself.
But now, based on where you're at, versus if you got warm season grass or cool season lawn, it depends on when you feed it and what you feed it with. So one measurement or one type doesn't fit all for this. We're speaking more of the northern climate gardener. We've had a tremendous amount of downloads from this is a duplicate. What you're listening now duplicates as a podcast on our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and all podcast platforms. And we've seen a tremendous amount of downloads out of the Dallas and Sacramento area the last couple of weeks. So thank you for that. I have some theories on why that is happening, but I'll keep that to myself. But thank you very much for that. What's another thing, Holly, in which we need to think about before the winter comes?
You want to look at your tree limbs.
Look up.
So if you see
Widowmakers. Do you know what a widowmaker is, Holly?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah.
How would I not know what a widowmaker is?
I don't know.
Just stop it.
Okay. For those who don't know what that term is
basically any large tree or branch that could fall off. This is so sexist, by the way.
Well, I didn't make the term up. I didn't. This is not me at all.
That would fall off of a tree or what have you, or a tree that would fall over. Say you send your.
It would go either way. If a woman was camping or got hit, it would be widowed.
That's a widower.
A widower.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, so it's an old school logging term, basically. So you send your spouse off to go logging, and then they do some situation where the tree falls on them, and then you become.
It's used in camping as well.
Send your man friend out to the woods.
Okay. But you want to look up because as the wind blows and the snow and the ice load and all of that, these things can fall on power lines. These things can fall on your house. Now, it
could be a power line killer or whatever. Yeah.
If you see this dead in the canopy, dead. I don't want to say dead growth because it's dead, but it's not growing. You want to remove that. If you cannot safely remove it, then you want to hire a certified arborist to come in and get that out of your. Off the tree, because
the reason this is important is because if you live in a climate that has snow and that huge branch,
even if you live in a climate like in the Boston area, they have hurricanes come through. We're on WCRN 830 out there. Them things are projectiles, and you want to take care of these things before tomorrow when the next day is the storm coming.
Right, and you
proactive.
If you're not sure about it, even if you might not want to remove it or don't think it needs to be removed, contacting an arborist is smart either way. So you can get a a good guess on what's going on with it.
Right. So yeah, we can do that, and we want to hire a certified arborist if we can't do it ourselves, Holly.
Absolutely. So you also want to pull weeds that look like they are going to go to seed, so that you're not leaving those seeds in the garden to come back up.
Right.
Back up next spring.
With the arborist, people are like, well, I don't want to pay $800 for the. Okay, so let's look at the alternative. You don't pay $800 and you try to do it yourself and you have no business doing it, and you've got a $15,000 hospital bill, if not a funeral.
Right.
So there you go. Pulling the weeds out if they're going to seed. Because if you do not do this prior to them going to seed, Holly, then you have a whole, the garden has already planted itself with foxtail and creep and anything else that, lamb's quarter, whatever you got.
It's a whole other bad can of worms.
Yes. It's already done it. Thistles is another thing that will go to flower and create a big mess.
One thing I want to touch on, aside from make sure you pull those weeds, is if you have any diseased plants, you want to toss those. You don't put those in your city to pick up. You don't put them back in your garden. You don't put them in your compost. You put them in a trash bag and you put them in the trash. Because a lot of those diseases, whether the plant is diseased, if it looks questionable, whatever, a lot of those diseases don't die off over winter, especially if they're going to like the huge city compost pile. It might not get cold enough for it to kill that disease. And if you burn it, a lot of these diseases are airborne. If you put in your own compost, if you put it back in your garden, you're just going to recreate that disease. So you just want to make sure you just toss them. So
we want to also trim back our perennials, the ones that should be trimmed, not just everything gets trimmed. So you want to be careful about that, because we've got numerous questions. Why doesn't my flower bloom? Why doesn't my this bloom? Well, did you trim it last year? Yes. Well, you've trimmed all the buds off of it, so it's not going to bloom this year. So you want to only trim back the things in which you're supposed to, like ornamental grasses. You can trim them all the way back to the ground, or you can leave them all winter long, and they add a nice accent as the wind blows with the snow and all the decoratorial aspects that it provides for you. So those are just some of the handful or dozens based on how large your property may be. Another thing is, you want to be safe about this, but you also want to make sure that your gutters, once most of the leaves have fell, you want to make sure the gutters are clean, so you don't have buildup of issues with snow and ice and water backing up underneath the shingles and rotting out your eaves and causing a whole lot of mess there too.
Well, yeah, exactly. So,
summer is over, Holly. Kids are back in school in most areas, and the nights are getting a little more cold. But let's be honest, you probably have forgotten about your lawn. We've talked about it, but did you really think about it before we brought it up?
No. But
no. Okay.
I don't really think about my lawn that much, just because it's fall.
It cares about you.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Just because it's fall doesn't mean we want to forget about our yards and those Japanese beetles. They may be gone, but they're not far. Not only did they feast on your roses and berries this summer, they laid eggs in your turf so that they can start again next year. You can take a stand with Phylum's Grub Gone. Grub Gone is a non-chemical Bt granular that specifically targets scarab pests and their larvae. You apply the granule with a spreader, irrigate it into the soil, and let the naturally occurring bacteria do its job.
Not only is it easy to use, but is the only non-chemical choice when it comes to effectively controlling grubs. And the best part about it, it's non-toxic to bees and other pollinators. In fact, Grub Gone has no label restrictions. I will say that again. It has no label restrictions for use around flowering plants, so you don't have to be cautious and make sure you don't get anything on them that the bees and other pollinators would take back to their hives and kill the hives or toxify the hives. Grub Gone from Phylum Bioproducts, the natural choice. Find all that out and more at phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com. And when you go there and you get Grub Gone, you can use, to save 10% on your order, coupon code GardenTalk10 at checkout. All coupon codes are available at our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, underneath the Money tab, if you've missed any of them. Well, do not miss our guest coming up, Kim Roman author, will be with us. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
This week's garden tip is sponsored by the amazing Dr. Zymes. Eliminate and prevent garden pests with their 100% all-natural, all-in-one insecticide and fungicide. Experience powerful natural protection from insects, fungus, mold, and mildew. Try a free sample. Visit drzymes.com/garden talk. Whiteflies are another sap-sucking, soft-bodied insect like aphids. They prevent plant growth by feeding on your plants and sucking the nutrients from them. Leaves will look wilted and molted, but also become coated with a sticky substance called honeydew, which is secreted by whitefly nymphs and adults. Spraying the amazing Dr. Zymes Eliminator around, under, and all over the plant can help rid your plant of these aggressive pests. Dr. Zymes is OMRI listed, safe up to the day of harvest, and doesn't leave a residue. That helpful garden tip was sponsored by the amazing Dr. Zymes. Eliminate and prevent garden pests with their 100% all-natural, all-in-one insecticide and fungicide. Experience powerful natural protection from insects, fungus, mold, and mildew. Try a free sample. Visit drzymes.com/garden talk. Hey gardeners, it's that time of growing season, so let's start canning. Head over to Fleet Farm for all of your canning supplies and jam mixes. In one easy stop, find everything you need, like jars, lids, canners, strainers, racks, spatulas, and funnels from top brands like Ball and Kerr. Plus, pick up mixes, sugar, and more. When it comes to canning, get everything you need at your canning headquarters, Fleet Farm. With the right tools, plant maintenance is easy and more effective. Ironwood Tool Company has the right tools for your project. From pruners to loppers to saws and shears and cleanup tools, get the right tool for this season, making your job much easier. Find them all at ironwoodtools.com.
Are you bugged by bugs? You need naturally green products, No More Bugs. Environmentally friendly, made in the USA. No More Bugs is a cedar blend that repels and eliminates mosquitoes, ticks, fleas, roaches, and ants, and more. No Bugs is safe for you, your pets, and plants. Visit natgreenproducts.com. You can enter promo code GREENTHUMB10 for 10% off your purchase of any size of No More Bugs. Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order.
Thanks for listening to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Rootmaker, Dripworks, Pomona Universal Pectin, Phylum Bioproducts, Tree Diaper, Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Deer Defeat, Water Hoop. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Moments away, author Kim Roman. But first, Simple Grow has a product that'll make your plants happy whether they're indoors or out or any time of year.
Are you worrying about your plant growth? Provide your plants with what they need to grow to their potential. Simple Grow offers 100% organic worm castings at simplegrow.com. Unlike other worm casting products, when you order from Simple Grow, you're getting 100% worm castings, not filler plus castings. You can promote ideal soil structure and aeration with Simple Grow's all-natural odor-free worm castings. There's only one ingredient, worm castings. No chemicals or additives will seep into your food, and it doesn't smell like other fertilizers. You can use it indoor or outside. You can order by the bag, ton, truckload, bundle. Check out what they have with their 100% worm castings and order today at simplegrow.com.
Well, Holly, let's go to the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods, and bring in our guests for this week.
Kim Roman is the owner of Square Foot Gardening for You. She's also a writer, educator, and experienced vegetable gardener. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Holly.
Well, we thank you, Kim, for taking time out of your day to not only join Holly and myself, but all of our listeners and enlighten us with some of your knowledge. And I'll start with this question. For gardeners who may be new or just not familiar with this method, what is square foot gardening?
Okay, well, first I'm going to give a quick history. The original method was created by Mel Bartholomew back in 1976, when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was graduating high school. And it was unique because he was not a horticulturist and not even a master gardener, but he was a civil engineer and an efficiency expert. And when he retired, he took up gardening and hated it. Back then, remember, it was single row gardening, and it was way too much work, and many common practices didn't make sense to Mel. He went from coast to coast and asked gardening experts why this and why that, and of course the answer was always the same, and that's because it's the way we've always done it. Now, the original method was an in-ground method, and that worked really well for most people, but some of them were still having, problems and not as much success as they wanted. And when he had 10 major improvements, the most prominent being not using your native soil and using a raised bed, well, he changed to the all-new square foot gardening in 2005. And it's even a lot easier. So at that time, he also created the Square Foot Gardening Foundation and trained certified instructors. Now for the method. In a nutshell, you're going to find a level piece of land. You're going to mow the grass on the lowest setting. You don't need to remove the sod unless it's really craggy. And then you're just going to kind of scrape it off with a shovel. You're going to lay down a layer of heavy-duty weed cloth or cardboard, place a bottomless raised bed. Basically, it's a frame made from just 4 pieces of lumber. You put that on top of the cloth. A typical configuration is a 4 foot by 4 foot, and you're going to fill that with the great growing medium that we call Mel's Mix, and I'll expand on that in a little bit. You're going to put a grid on top of the mix, and virtually it's just a visual divider and kind of divides the raised beds into approximate 12-inch squares, and then you're going to plant. Now, compared to that traditional row garden I was talking about, you're going to get 100% of the harvest using just 20% of the space, 10% of the water, 5% of the seeds, 2% of the work, and virtually no weeds. Who's in for that?
Yeah.
It's definitely, a very understandable method and the appeal to it. So talk to us about the different types of raised beds that most people, know of.
Okay, so first off, the most common one, the one I just talked about, was a bottomless raised bed, and that's called a ground bed. And let's say, though, you need to garden on your deck or patio or other hard surface. Well, you're going to take that bottomless raised bed and you're going to make a patio bed out of it simply by attaching a piece of plywood using galvanized screws to the bottom of that bed. Now, the plywood should be a minimum of 1/2 inch thick, but 3/4 would be better. Now you're going to drill drainage holes approximately every square foot, and an extra 1 or 2 holes in each of the 4 outer corners. You're going to raise it up, though, on something like bricks, and that's so that the excess water can drain out of it. Now, let's say you have a bad back or you use a wheelchair. Now, that patio box, all you have to do is attach legs to it, and you've got a tabletop or elevated box. Square foot gardening is all about inclusion and customization.
Now, you mentioned the 4 by 4 foot raised bed. Does it have to be that size, or can we customize it to meet the requirements of the gardener?
Absolutely. In general, we talk about a 4 by 4, but it can be whatever size works for your situation. Generally, a 4 foot raised bed, the average human can reach in and work in the center squares about 2 feet. So that works just perfectly. But if you're talking about children or more petite people, they can only reach in 8 inches. So you would use a 3 by 3. Now, at my old house, I had my square foot garden up against the the fence line, so it could only be 2 feet wide, so I could reach in that 2 feet. It was 2 feet by 23 feet, so totally customizable.
Okay, great. So you said you were going to talk about Mel's Mix, and as you promised, could you tell us more about that?
Sure. Mel's Mix is the growing medium that we use, and by volume, it's 1/3 peat moss or cocoa coir, cocoa fiber, 1/3 coarse vermiculite, and 1/3 of a great blended compost made of at least 5 different ingredients. Another substitute for peat moss, though, would be pit moss, P-I-T-T, pit moss, which is made from recycled paper. Unlike peat, it is going to deteriorate a lot faster, so you're going to kind of need to add that every year. And it's been really impossible to find coarse vermiculite since the pandemic. So the Square Foot Gardening Foundation is saying that you can use like 2/3 compost and 1/3 of peat or cocoa or that pit moss. It's not optimal, but it is doable. And you really should add vermiculite when it's available. But we're trying to find other substitutes for vermiculite, and I'm trialing a mix that contains rice hulls, Hulls, rice hulls. And again, unlike vermiculite, which lasts a decade or more, the hulls would need to be added to yearly. And that reminds me, in most climates, we are able to use each square foot 2 to 3 times a growing season. For instance, early spring would be 4-leaf lettuces. You're going to be ready with a pepper transplant for summer. And then in the fall, you're going to be able to put in 16 radishes in that same square. Every time you pull something out of a square, you're going to add a trowel of compost, and that's going to refresh the nutrients. So we rarely, if ever, have to use additional fertilizer.
Fantastic. So we are talking with Kim Roman, owner of the Square Foot Gardening for You. And I just want to talk about your organization, Square Foot Gardening for You. What is Square Foot Gardening for You? And what is it?
Sure. Okay, so I'm not sure the current Square Foot Gardening Foundation policy, but in 2010, when I became a certified instructor, Mel Bartholomew was allowing us to use the name Square Foot Gardening in our businesses. So I chose Square Foot Gardening for You, the number 4 letter U. And my mission is the same as the foundation's, and that's to end world hunger 1 square foot at a time. And when we become CIs, Mel asked us to go into our communities and around the world to teach people to grow their own food.
And you have traveled around the world to teach people about Square Foot Gardening. And can you talk about a memorable time or something that was really notable that you just were really found a lot of joy in what you were doing that you'll never forget again?
Great, thank you. The reason I charge for my classes and talks is so that I can provide classes, books, and gardens to organizations that help the homeless, at-risk youth, and those living in food deserts. And because I'm an Air Force veteran, I also have a heart for wounded veterans. But my absolute favorite moment was being able to teach composting and gardening in Kenya on a mission trip with my church.
I want to go back to, you talked about the raised bed model. Now, is that in a video? And how deep, for people who are wanting to create a raised bed square foot, how deep should this bed be, or is there a right and wrong depth?
Well, actually, obviously you can make them as deep as you would like, but through decades of just observational research, we've found that just 6 inches of Mel's Mix is sufficient for most vegetables and most climates. You can use an 8-inch deep raised bed, and they're suggested if you're going to grow squash or melons, or if you live in a hot, dry climate.
Well, is there something that you would highly recommend not growing in a small space, and why would that be? And something you would really that you would find that would not be good there, and something that would be the across the board successful?
Okay, this is a great question. I personally do not like to grow things like bush zucchini because that would take up an entire 3 foot by 3 foot area. That's 9 squares. I'd much rather grow 9 different vegetables in that space. I also don't like growing perennial herbs in my square foot garden because, of course, they can outgrow that single square. Those good woody rosemary and things like that. And of course, mint. Never grow mint in a
Right.
in a garden in a raised bed. But my favorite success is probably growing melons and vining vining anything vining, squash, melons, things like that on what's called a squash arch. And my last yard was so tiny that I would never have thought about growing something like spaghetti squash in that tiny yard. But while the vine grew 28 feet long, it only took up 2 square feet of ground space, and the raised bed again was only 8 inches deep.
Now, you talk about this arch, and then if you don't have that capability, or you're planting it like on the outer edge so you can allow it to go in the yard and not take over the
Sure.
bed, is that how you want to do that?
You could absolutely do that. I just did not have the space to do that in mine. But yes, absolutely. Exactly where you would place it is on that outer edge.
Well, we've greatly appreciate. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Holly.
I think a lot of people, I know like Joey had to kind of learn this because he grew up on a farm and they had a lot of space to grow
Right.
vegetables. And I grew up in the city and you can trellis so many things. And I know that's definitely, is there like a favorite trellising method you have to make small space gardening more possible?
Well, in the book, they do show a very basic trellis that you can make with electrical conduit and nylon trellis netting, which is absolutely fantastic. If people want to know more about that, they can email me. But the squash arch, bamboo poles, I would make little teepees and grow beans and peas up those.
Well, we've greatly appreciate the knowledge and the time you've offered, Kim, to not only Holly and myself, but our listeners. How can people find out more about you and find your book and books?
Okay, great. So my website is sfg4u.com. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And the easiest thing to search for is at Square Foot Gardening, 4, U, no spaces, or at Your Indoor Food Garden. And that one is based off of my book, which is How to Garden Indoors and Grow Your Own Food Year-Round. And that's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and hopefully your local bookstore.
And as things maneuver through the world, that would be a very important book to pick up, in my suggestion.
That's my opinion, too.
Yeah. Well, Kim, we greatly thank you. We appreciate the time, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Joey and Holly.
Absolutely. And when we come back, it's your garden questions, our garden answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use code 10TG22 to receive 10% off your order at jungseed.com. That code again is 10TG22.
Ship Drop is a website you can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door for free. Ship Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account. Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you with the harvest that you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com and use coupon code RADIO22 to save 15% off your order. That's rootmaker.com. Brought to you by Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardens, farms, landscaping, and more. Visit blueribbonorganics.com or call 262-497-8539 to find their products nearest you. When winter hits with heavy snowfall and frigid temperatures, your outdoor furniture takes a beating. What you need to do is cover it with custom protective covers from coversandall.com. They have a bunch of waterproof, tear, and abrasion-resistant fabrics to choose from, and each cover is made with waterproof stitching. Covers and All has a lot of customization options, incredibly easy design, and order process to make covering any size or shape a snap. Visit coversandall.com and use code GARDEN25 at checkout to save 25% off your purchase. Thanks for listening to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Tree Ripe, Covers and All, Ironwood Tool Company, Timber Pro Coatings, Blue Ribbon Organics, Natural Green Products, Algae Men, Dr. Zymes, Happy Leaf LED, Rescue, Big Tool Rack, Hot Bin Composting, Proclamation Goods. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. Another hour almost complete, but there is time for your questions and our answers. If you want to be a part of that participation activity, you can do that by sending us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free coast to coast on the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods. That number, simple to remember, 1-800-927-SHOW. 1-800-927-7469.
Proclamation Goods creates cookware for the eco-conscious home chef. Their pans are non-toxic, have a lifetime warranty, and are made in Wisconsin. Their award-winning stainless steel Proclamation Duo cookware set is a 12-inch skillet and a stock pot that doubles as a wok. Best of all, the skillet and stock pot hinge together to form a Dutch oven. It's 2 pans with the versatility of 10, empowering you to cook more with less. If you care about your health and strive for a more sustainable lifestyle, then Proclamation Goods is for you. Supplies limited, so orders now at proclamationgoods.com.
All right, Holly, let's go to the questions that we have this week. This question is sponsored by Fleet Farm and fleetfarm.com. Any tips on slowing the production of flowers on my basil plants? Thank you.
So basil will flower when the temperatures are warmer, and you can pick the flowers off as soon as you see them. It won't live forever, but cutting the flowers off of it will keep the plants in check.
Yeah,
I guess
it will slow the life. It will extend the life expectancy, I guess is a better way to put it.
And then you want to, if you can, keep the plant in a cooler spot, maybe a shadier spot. That will help it too.
Yeah, it's not going to last forever, but you can prolong it as long as possible, keeping it hydrated, keeping the stress level down on it, keeping the roots cool by mulch or in a shadier place. It's an herb, and it can handle 3 to 4 hours of sunlight. It can't handle really complete shade, but it will handle limited amount of sunlight much more willingly than most of your vegetables will. All right, Holly, let's go to the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods, and we have a caller.
Hi, this is Elaine calling from Greenfield, Wisconsin. I have a question regarding rose bushes. I have 2 climbers. They bloomed very nicely in the beginning, and now all I do, they just grow bigger and bigger all the time. So there's no blooms.
All right. Can we help her, Holly? She's listening to in Milwaukee on Joy 1340 AM and 98.7 FM, and we thank you for that. Her climbing roses aren't blooming. That can be a problem.
So one thing would be to fertilize them.
Okay. The correct amount of fertilizer. Yeah.
Fertilizer.
There are rose fertilizers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is to keep removing the blossoms.
Deadheading.
The deadheading. Yeah. The dead blossoms are the kind of sad ones, and that will help produce growth as well. Sometimes it just takes time.
And you make sure you keep it watered.
Yeah, keeping it watered as well.
Because these flowers, though you would think that they would produce flowers in a drought situation, they're worried about survival. So they will cut off any additional necessary energy in order to conserve the moisture that they have in them.
So all good tips, and that should help. May not be this year, Holly, but next year that should accelerate or be able to get those blossoms to last longer. All right, Dusty writes in. It's more of a comment, Holly, but he refers to a couple of weeks ago when we had the topic of things we stopped doing in the garden, season 6, episode 24, in regards to this topic.
He says, I can agree corn can be costly and labor intensive. I do have good luck with broccoli, but not beets. Lettuce, carrots are so-so, and cauliflower. We need to figure out if it's a nutrient problem, a microclimate problem, or watering or combo. I think it's phosphorus and potash. It seems the veggies above take a long time to get up to speed. Zone 5A in Wisconsin. Thank you for your comment, Dusty.
He makes a lot of good points. It can be a nutrient deal in the soil in regards to what you're growing. There can be issues with that. He said, since we used Japanese beetle traps last year, we have very few of them now. Well, good for you. He's also noticed that they are attracted to the nettle, and he lets it grow in the backfield, and that's where he sets up the trap. Exactly how we have suggested those traps be used. If you're using a trap from rescue, use the trap away from the problem, or if, in this instance, the backfield is where they're attracted with the nettle, I'm assuming that's stinging nettle, put the trap there so that the insects, the beetles, will go there and away from everything else in which you're trying to protect. So there you go. Next question, Holly.
My carrots were all shapes and sizes. None of them were straight. They're kind of knotty looking. What causes this? And some were very hairy, which I'm guessing are roots. So first of all, knotty carrots that grow kind of funny, like
not straight. Yeah, very misshapen. Yeah.
A lot of times it's your soil. So you might have rocky soil, not nice loomy soil. So you might want to add some compost into your soil, kind of amend it that way. And then hairy carrots, this is a common problem. They were not being properly watered. So then what happens is they put out those little extra roots, makes them look hairy, but those little extra roots are trying to get as much water as possible.
Yeah. So there you go. My garden is a wreck. Weeds and the heat and little production. Can I just leave it, walk away, and then let everything die off over the winter and then start over next spring? Or what is best here?
Well, yes and no.
Yes.
Yes.
Go explain the yes and no there, because...
So you can just walk away and then hope for the best. You will probably end up with a weedy garden next year. Mm-hmm. But then you have some alternatives. You can cover it with a nice thick weed cloth.
Yeah.
And that will, over time, smother a lot of those weeds, break them down, especially in early spring. The sun will cook them, and then you can start from there. What other suggestions do you have, Joey?
Well, yeah, you're going to have to pull the weeds. Otherwise, you're going to have weeds everywhere. So that would be a key. Production-wise, you may be wanting to look at an irrigation system of some sort in order to protect that. Soil test could be something that you would need to look at. In order to do this right, you're going to have a little bit of an investment. So giving up is not the best answer, but I understand the frustration in which one can have when it comes to this. We've experienced this type of thing before, and we've given up, I guess, is what you would refer to being. So, I mean, that's about all I can really give.
I know a lot of people seem to be having a weed problem this year. It sounds like, especially in the Midwest. I don't know where this question came from, but you're not alone. I know that. Also, I think a lot of times it's just going to happen.
Right.
But I would just suggest, like Joey said, pulling them out. That is one thing.
Don't use chemicals to spray everything.
Don't use chemicals to spray everything. And if you stay on top of it, I know which isn't always easy, but it does make
maybe
things,
downsize.
Yeah, maybe downsize. Consider maybe using containers or some other method to grow that would help you have less weeds.
All right, Holly. I pickled elderberries and made juice with them. I forgot to add the lemon juice. Will it be safe to use? I boiled the water for 20 minutes. Is it okay that I didn't put lemon juice in the elderberry juice?
I know the lemon juice provides a longer shelf life.
Because of the acidity.
Yeah, because of the acidity. It's not like your juice is going to taste sour. So what you would want to do is you want to reprocess it. So whatever the recipe calls for, if it's like a half a cup per batch or a tablespoon per jar or what, I don't know what the recipe calls for, you would just do that and then you reprocess the jars. What you do is you put a brand new lid on them.
That's the flat portion.
You put them in your canner. You start your canner from cold or from room temperature. I shouldn't say cold, but from room temperature.
Ambient temperature.
Once the water starts boiling, so you put the jars in there and then you turn the water on. Once the water reaches that roaring strong boil, then you start your timer, and that's how you reprocess the jars.
Right. And it's okay to reprocess certain things. If jars don't seal or if jars pinch and have a little buckle in them, that's because most likely you've overcranked, you've tightened the jar down too long, and the air can't escape, so that's why the lid is buckled or bent or ruptured. There's certain things like juices you can reprocess, tomato juice you can reprocess, but things like, let's say, pickles, if they don't seal, reprocessing them again...
You're going to make them really mushy.
You're going to turn into mush.
And jam, I think jam would actually, if you reprocess that, I think it would reliquefy itself. So if you want syrup...
So what is the alternative if for pickles or jam, if it doesn't seal?
Stick them in the fridge.
Put a new flat lid on and just slide them in the fridge.
You just leave that flat lid on there.
Okay. Yeah. If it's not buckled.
Right.
Okay. Well, with that being said, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Did you miss any portion of the program today or would like to revisit it? You can do that by going to our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and clicking on the Season 6 tab at the top of the page. Or you can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and we will send you a link to this show. Tune in next week to the program. We'll be discussing closing the garden, how to do it, should you do it, and when to do it, as well as birding over the winter. Our guest will be popular YouTube channel host of Growing with Gina will be with us, a very popular Midwestern YouTuber that has a great success in her garden. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joey Baird, and we will see you in the garden.